Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is our 5th annual State of Science and Innovation, and I'm thrilled to see you all here today. My name is Allison Barlow, and I am the Executive Director of the Innovation District. I'll be here. And you know, this is a fun event. Calling out things is welcome. It's fine. You watched the past ones. You saw last year's theme that kept repeating. But we want to have fun, and we want you to have a chance to get a little snippet of the really cool stuff that happens here in St. Petersburg. Stuff that I'm guessing you probably don't even know about in some cases. So I'll be your host for the evening. And I am working with you here in the room, and my awesome partner in crime, Lauren Bell, is with our group watching online. So decades ago, researchers, scientists, technologists conducted their work in remote locations, far removed from urban centers. As a result, many of their efforts occurred behind figurative or geographical shields of secrecy. As demands for work-life balance increased, communication channels broadened, and urban centers enjoyed the renaissance that we see today, institutions recognized what the former model could not effectively deliver: collaboration by proximity. The Innovation District was formed to maximize these opportunities from the proximity of a number of organizations, both in the district and closely outside. It was started by leaders in anchor institutions: Bayfront Health, Johns Hopkins, USF St. Petersburg campus, the marine science community led by the College of Marine Science. It was done in collaboration with key organizations that seek to strengthen our community, such as the St. Pete Downtown Partnership and the Foundation for a Healthy St. Pete. And of course, it was led and guided by the city of St. Petersburg. It's their collective vision 6 years ago now that makes this evening possible. So to open today's event, we are pleased to have someone who references innovation in many forms frequently. It's in the principles of his administration, the discussion about the future of St. Pete, and even his support of the Innovation District. We are pleased to have Mayor Ken Welch to kick off this evening. Please welcome Mayor Welch.
Thank you, Allison. Good afternoon, everyone. That is the furthest I've run since Christmas. So I'm back on the fitness kit. It is great to be here this afternoon. Great to see you all. I do want to introduce some members of our city leadership who are with us today. Councilmember Regina Driscoll. Lizette Hanowitz. Thank y'all for being here. We have several members of our administration, and they do a fantastic job, starting with Administrator Rob Burtis. Rob, have all your team stand up and just give a wave. So there is something special about innovators, and I just want to thank you all for everything that you bring to our city. When I think about the state of science and innovation, someone has already mentioned to me, I got a little state of the city coming up on Thursday that you may have heard about. But I gave a state of the county about 10 years ago, 2013, as chair of the county commission. And it just strikes me how far we've come in a decade and how aligned the state of science and innovation is with the state of our city. We are stronger, we will be more resilient, we will be more prosperous because of what innovation brings to our city. It's incredible. If you just look at what's happening in our city, the Maritime and Defense Hub, FinTech, all the things that are drawing folks to St. Pete like never before. It's because of innovation. And yes, Allison, it's because of collaboration and working together. That is what sets St. Pete apart. I want to thank you for your innovation. I know a lot of it is God-given, it's DNA. It's kind of like accounting. I'm an accountant from USF St. Pete, and we're different, right? Well, there's one accountant. But innovators are different too. You look at things and say, well, why not? Why can't it be done this way? And that helps move us all forward. So thank you for all you do. I'm looking forward to seeing the presentation tonight. I understand their time, I kind of know what that feels like as well. And thank y'all for helping move St. Petersburg forward. God bless.
So another amazing champion for the Innovation District and also an advocate for our marine science community is our very own city council member. And I'd like to invite council member Gina Driscoll to come to the stage.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you everyone for coming together tonight to see what's new in St. Petersburg and what some of our most respected entities and organizations are working on right now. This is a great moment for them to show you some of the things that they've been putting their heart and soul into, and some of the things that are going to help move us forward in terms of the life sciences, marine sciences, and these are the folks who are helping to really put St. Petersburg on the map, defining who we are today. So give them your attention, give them your love, and afterwards, when we're at the reception, you'll have an opportunity to chat with them individually. This is such an incredible event and just a great way to give you a taste of everything that's happening in the Innovation District right now. Those of you who know me know that I am a big cheerleader for the Innovation District, and we've got a lot of great work ahead of us in marine sciences in particular right now. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Maritime and Defense Technology Hub. And that was a success right out of the gate with over a dozen tenants who came together not just to do their work, but to collaborate with each other. All of that was guided by Allison. And so I've really become her biggest fan. And, you know, that kind of collaboration and that kind of cooperative innovation is really what St. Petersburg is all about. So for all of you here who are working in the Innovation District, learning here, thank you for investing your time and other resources in St. Petersburg. We love you. Thank you.
So I'm also pleased to thank USF again for hosting. They are so wonderful to be a partner, a member of the Innovation District, but also willing to host this and many of our events. So I'd like to invite Regional Chancellor Dr. Christian Cardigree to the stage.
Good evening. You know, I've had the privilege and pleasure of representing USF St. Pete now for 6 months, and my mom still doesn't believe I have a real job. So in tradition of trying to prove my mother wrong, I think it's all of us trying to do at some point. I'd like to get a selfie with you guys. And for those of you who are bulls, can I get a bulls up kind of moment? Like prove I'm wrong, right? Fantastic. Thank you for helping me in that endeavor. So good evening, welcome to the 5th annual State of Science. I am so excited to be here. This is my first one. And as I was trying to figure out what's going on and what we're doing and whatnot, somebody said, it's like speed dating with science. I said, cool. So I am super excited to be a part of this, you know, to celebrate the amazing and cool innovation and discoveries, what St. Pete brings, the economic engine that it drives, what it does for our region, our state, our world. And I know that we've been very fortunate to have faculty members who've been involved in the past. Professor Sean Dewey had talked about how illegal animal trafficking could spark another global pandemic. Kind of relevant. You know, marine science professor Steve Murkowski has discussed his work with coastal mapping, which is used to improve our storm surge modeling and prediction, maritime safety, fishery management, all of that. It's phenomenal. Anthropology professor Heather O'Leary, she talked about how she used social media to help track the economic impact of red tide in our region. And Professor Jamie McHale, those of you who know him, I know he presented, talked about his work as director of the Family Studies Center, where they study and advocate for families and young children co-parenting. So this year, we're super excited because the campus dean of the College of Education, David Rosengrant, is going to be discussing his work in using augmented reality to help high school students grasp complex concepts in physics. And so every time we talk about augmented reality, I know that half the people are like, David's playing video games and over in college of ed. No, he's teaching the future leaders of tomorrow. And for the very first time, we're going to have a graduate student, Natalie Salaya, who is a PhD candidate in the College of Marine Science. She is going to be talking about her discoveries related to underwater viruses. So I'm very excited to hear about that. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to presenters of the past, presenters of today and the future. You give us a glimpse into this boundary pushing work that you do on a daily basis. And it inspires and humbles me every time I get to hear about the work that these folks do. With that, I also want to throw a quick shout out because I know y'all are like, shut the woman up and let's get to it. But I do want to throw a huge shout out to Allison. Allison, I similarly have become a fangirl. And I love the opportunity to work with Allison. She has a boundless energy, enthusiasm, passion, and a can-do spirit. And gosh, she just makes me feel like a better person for those moments I get to spend with her. So with that, thank you for being here today at USF St. Petersburg. Thank Allison and her amazing team. She's behind the sign. She's like, I'm not here. Anyway, thank you all for being here, and let's get it going. Perfect.
So we got some great feedback for our folks online. They said, be a little bit back from the mic. So I'm gonna move the mic out for all the subsequent speakers. You know, I'm not trying to make you quiet. It's apparently working its job. So a little about the agenda. We have an evening program that's going to start with a very quick highlight of the Innovation District, a little bit about 2022 and a little bit about what you can expect in 2023. Following this, we're going to have a series of very fast-paced brief presentations by 5 local innovators. And then we're going to move into a reception next door, where you all are going to have a chance to have a little beverage, have a little snack, and meet these people and have a chat. And I always enjoy the reception because I think it's the most interesting part of the evening, in fact. So last year, we did a deep dive into the Innovation District, and I'm not going to do that this year. We're just going to hit some highlights. But what we want to talk to you a little bit about is where we've come. So first and foremost, we've been doing a lot of thank yous, but you know, this is our annual event, so it's the time to do the thank yous. So I do want to thank and recognize the Board of Directors of the Innovation District. Would you please stand? The Board of Directors members. So we have Rob Kapusta from Downtown Partnership, Katie Corbett from the City of St. Pete, and we have Jason Mathis from the St. Pete Downtown Partnership. You met Christian from USF St. Pete. We also have Tom Frazier, USF St. Pete College of Marine Science, representing our marine science community. Julie Rocco was helping, there she is in the back. She's already standing, I missed you. And from the Foundation for Healthy St. Pete. And so I think that's everybody. I thank them because they are the ones that make this happen. They really help propel the ideas, the commitments, the collaboration. So really quick, what happened last year? I'll hit a couple of highlights. The Hub. You guys heard about the Hub a couple of times. The Maritime and Defense Tech Hub was stood up last year. And we also have a lot of tenants here. So if you were a tenant in the Hub, stand up. So we have Ben from Polestar. We've got Berkshire with Shannon. We've got Justin from ATS. We've got Pat from PBS. And then we've also got our friends from Saildrone and then also the Polestar. So we currently have 21 organizations in the Hub. And it's an amazing collaboration, everything from a one-person shop up to, how many people do you have these days? 50, oh my, 50 people. And it's pretty phenomenal to have those opportunities. We also, as an innovation district, won 2 national awards for our smart cities work. We hosted over 38 collaborative events, everything from happy hours to tech exchanges to cross-industry innovation planning events. There were 87 articles or pieces of media about the Innovation District and our partners last year. So we kind of turned up the afterburner on getting the word out about what y'all do. And we engaged about 180, more than 180 youth who came through. This is everything from elementary school through first year in college, who came through to check out what career opportunities could look like, and got a chance to talk with myself, with some of our business leaders in the room about their paths to success. And we did about 140 or 410,000 in grant money, and I'm about to shock you about next year regarding that. A couple other things that we did. Master planning is underway. We did have this amazing digital inclusion effort in collaboration with Beatrice, who I see there, my partner in crime from the Deuces Live District. So wait, Beatrice. With the generous support of the Foundation for Health St. Pete, the City of St. Pete, and then the willingness of the Community Foundation Tampa Bay, we are going to sustain that, what was a multi-year volunteer-led organization, into something that can make tremendous changes. We've also done some really creative solutioning and idea creation around workforce development, or excuse me, workforce housing, around daycare, and around internships. So things that are really hot topics, not only for our teams in the Innovation District, for the broader community as well. And then last but not least, it was worth saying something because I think it's been, what, Brian, a 5 or 6 year endeavor. We got the banners up and we got the monument sign up. And then one got hit by a car 2 weeks in. So we're on a path though, we'll get there. I figured by 10, we'll get there. So we did this all because of you all. You heard me do a few shout outs, but that's only a few of the people who helped the amazing team of 2 make this happen. So I thank you all, and I really appreciate what you've done. Now, really quick, what can you expect next year? We are going to continue the master planning development in partnership with the city. We have a lot of great aspirations that includes some new facilities, some shared spaces, and some amazing things that will help continue to fuel this idea of collaborative conversations. Maximizing the hub, we've done a lot, but we have more to do. Building some transformational opportunities in the new blue economy. I mentioned earlier, we've been talking, we did 410,000 in grant money. Ready for the number we're going after right now? 160 million. And that, and I don't see everybody here because literally it's due next week. So they are writing like crazy, but I do see some of the partners who have been so generous with their time or their teams to be part of it. It's being led by the USF College of Marine Science. It's partnered with the Innovation District, FIO. I see Monty back there. Also PDM's on the team, Saildrone's on the team. All of our partners at the hub are, and it's going to be amazing. It's an opportunity to really transform St. Petersburg with an intentionality around the convergence of maritime or marine science and technology. And we'll talk more about it later. So now you get a sense of what we're doing and what's going to happen. But let's get to the presentations. So I already mentioned this, but I'll re-emphasize it. It's going to be lightning round. Each presenter is going to have 6 minutes. The slides are on the timer. They do not have the clicker. I have the clicker. Though I'm a phone a friend, so if they get a jam, they come to me. But the reason we do that is because these topics, you could spend days learning about them. I mean, these are amazing experts in their field, and what we want to do is give you a taste. So we really want to get you curious. I hope that they spur a lot of conversation, and then we'll go into the reception to have a conversation with them and with each other about what you've heard. So every year we have a theme. In past, we've had themes around the highlighting of the expertise in marine science and life science, or looked at the full spectrum of STEM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. One year we even looked at the interconnection of art and science, and had the keynote that year was Janet Eckelman, the creator of the bending arc on the pier. So there's been these great themes, but this year when I looked at the presentations and I thought about it, what struck me was actually one of the themes for the Innovation District, dive deeper. If I look at the slides and I look at the topics, on the surface you may say, yeah, I understand what that is. That makes sense, but you're gonna have to dive deeper into these conversations because you listen and you hear what they're talking about, and there's so many impacts, not only for us geographically here in the Tampa Bay region, but internationally in the work they're doing. So I hope you enjoy this evening's speakers, and we're getting ready to dive deeper with the first speaker. So our first speaker is going to start us off in a conversation about healthcare, and particularly how does technology help us save lives? So I expect that most everybody in the room knows somebody who has unfortunately suffered a stroke. And you're familiar with the fact that when someone has a stroke, minutes count. You know that these lives could be saved and outcomes improved if we understood and be able to deal with what was going on quicker. How can technology help reduce that time for interventions? Now, these are probably tools you might have seen in other settings, but what I love about it is how we're reapplying it into healthcare. So our first speaker is Mary Losaco. Did I get it right? Mary is a registered nurse and the stroke program manager at Bayfront Health. Please welcome Mary Losaco. Gotta set the timer so I can go. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to be here covering a subject that I'm passionate about and that continues to drive me as a clinician. At Bayfront Health St Petersburg, we continuously strive to deliver the best and most up-to-date stroke care for our community. Talking to community members over the last year has taught us that many are unsure of what a stroke really is and assume most strokes occur in the elderly population. While many of our patients do fall into this category, about a third of our stroke patients at Bayfront are under the age of 45. Strokes can occur across all populations and age groups. My sister-in-law, for example, unfortunately suffered a stroke when she was 7 years old. Thankfully, she's the healthy mother of 4 today because of the great care she received in those crucial moments. Though our understanding of strokes has greatly advanced over the last 2 decades, the most critical factor in stroke care has stayed the same, and that is time. 6 months ago, we began using a remarkable new technology called VizAI that's positively impacted our stroke program and patient care. I will absolutely get into how VizAI has helped us in our stroke patients, but first let's understand exactly what happens when somebody has a stroke. When a stroke occurs, a blood vessel that carries oxygen and nutrients to the brain is either blocked by a clot or bursts. When this happens, part of the brain cannot get the oxygen and blood that it needs, so brain cells start to die. When this happens, brain cells begin to die within minutes. Symptoms will have an abrupt onset and can feel like your brain kind of offline. It's crucial to identify the stroke and receive early intervention to reduce brain damage and other complications. Stroke is currently the leading cause of adult disability and the 5th leading cause of death in the United States. As I mentioned, there's been significant advancements over the last few years in stroke care. These advancements have led to better detection of stroke and treatment of ischemic stroke patients using powerful clot-busting medications and procedures to physically remove the obstruction in the vessels. While these interventions have been greatly beneficial to patients suffering from stroke, there's only a short period of time that these interventions can be performed once a stroke occurs. I'm not sure how many of you have heard this phrase, time is brain. This simple phrase is the reason behind why interventions to treat stroke are so focused on treating these patients as quickly as possible. Once a stroke begins, you lose almost 2 million brain cells every minute. Compared with the normal rate of neuron loss in average brain aging, this equates to aging about 3.6 years every hour without treatment. The interventions that are available to treat ischemic strokes are targeted at opening the vessel or vessels that are blocked and reperfusing the brain before further damage can be done. So again, this focus is on decreasing time to intervention. At Bayfront, we're focusing on assessing and treating stroke patients efficiently in order to improve their care and decrease lasting deficits. Once a stroke patient arrives at our hospital, the first step is assessing the patient and getting them into our CT scanner so we can better visualize what's happening inside the brain. This is where VizAI has really helped improve our process and outcomes. VizAI was founded in 2016 with the purpose of bringing intelligence and integration to care coordination in order to treat the most vulnerable patients and help them receive the care they need in a timely manner. The ischemic stroke platform was built to accelerate access to life-saving stroke care. Excuse me. It is a program that we've been using at Bayfront since June of 2022. This app allows our stroke responders to see patient scans in real time rather than having to wait for the scans to be processed across imaging and medical record platforms. Within minutes of completing a patient CT scan, the images are uploaded onto a HIPAA secure cloud that communicates with our stroke responder. Here, our teams can immediately evaluate the images and begin to make treatment decisions. While the images are uploaded directly for our team members to review,
Viz also has AI-powered interpretation of CT scans that helps detect large vessel occlusions in the brain and immediately alerts our treatment teams. This allows for faster triage and treatment decisions amongst our team and allows us to intervene on these strokes right away. Not only does Viz AI allow our stroke responders to obtain images and interpretations in a much shorter amount of time, it also acts as a communication hub for our team. We utilize the HIPAA-compliant chat features as a communication center so that all providers involved in stroke patient care can be aware of treatment decisions, as well as any new information that may be collected by our team members working throughout the hospital. This can include patient assessments, family information, medications, or any other critical information that will help our team make the best treatment plan for our patients. Taking away the need for multiple phone calls and having a secure centralized location that communicates with all team members creates a much smoother and well-encapsulated process. This chat feature allows our neuro specialists that may not physically be located in our emergency department to be involved in the patient care within minutes of them coming to our facility. Even just over the last 6 months, Viz and process improvements have helped Bayfront Health St Petersburg improve the care of our stroke patients improve the care that our stroke patients are receiving. We've been able to decrease our treatment decision and intervention times drastically. This decrease in time that it takes from a patient entering our doors to the time we administer life-saving medications such as CPA, a clot-busting medication, or receiving a mechanical thrombectomy, a procedure in which our neurointerventionists physically remove the clot from the vessel, are represented here by DTN and DTP respectively. Our median door to intervention times for mechanical thrombectomies has decreased by 18 minutes. While this may not seem like a large amount of time, if you remember the information I spoke about earlier, these 18 minutes can equate to about 36 million neurons, or about a year of average brain aging that these patients would lose without this quicker treatment. This AI has helped Bayfront treat stroke patients more effectively and efficiently. This has led to better patient care and patient outcomes. Each patient that we can help with this technology and process improvements allows members of our community that unfortunately experience a stroke to live better and more deficit-free lives after leaving our hospital.
So you heard from Mary's excellent presentation about technology changing our world. But what about in the classroom? We now see computers in almost every classroom. Students today could easily surpass all of us in their comfort and skills with a computer, a laptop, a tablet, even a smartphone. But what about, quote, the newer technologies like augmented reality? How can they enhance how students learn? How can it be accessible for everyone? Can they, dare we say, make school fun? Our next speaker is Dr. David Rosengrant. David is the professor of STEM education and interim director of education, USF St. Petersburg campus. And I have to take a moment and explain the picture. This photo was taken when David was on the Innovation District podcast. And it was one of my first times meeting David, and he was paired with Chad Marin, who I don't know if Chad's here. Oh, he is, awesome, he's here. And let me tell you, you get two geeks, Chad's in St. Pete College. You get two geeks who really love technology and love education. And it was the most fun I have had in that topic arena. I learned a ton that day, and I think we formed some really cool collaborations among the three of us as a result. So I also want to share one other little tidbit about David. Today's his birthday. But he chose to be here with you all, sharing his work versus with his family. So I pretty much owe him everything right now. So please welcome Dr. David Rosengrant.
Thank you very much, Allison, for inviting me and also probably throwing me the biggest and probably best birthday party I've ever had. So thank you very much for that. And yes, I've been called a lot of different things. I'm a campus dean of education here on St. Pete campus. I'm a professor of STEM education. Yes, I'm a geek. I love it. I own it. I'm a gamer. So Christian, we're going to be talking about esports pretty soon, whether or not you know it. But professionally, I think one of the titles that I appreciate and love the most is I'm an educator. I've been in the classroom. I was a high school physics teacher, looking at, even at that time, incorporating video games into the classroom. Because what can we do to get our students excited about learning? I'm very specific about the title that you have for the talk. It's not about technology helping me as a teacher. It's technology helping our students as the learners. I work with pre-service teachers, I work with in-service teachers, and I tell them, there's a couple of rules that I have with technology. And the first rule is that if technology doesn't enhance the learning for what you're doing in the classroom, don't use it. If it's not going to benefit what we're doing and what you need to accomplish, it's the next fad. We don't need it. Look to see what works for you. As an educator, I tell my students, I cannot prepare you for the classroom that you're student teaching in right now. I cannot prepare you for the classroom that you had as a senior, though it was only 2 years ago. I need to prepare you for the classroom that you're going to see in 5 years, in 10 years. What is that technology going to look like? What is it going to bring to you into the classroom? Because I have something of what I call the Jonathan effect. My son's name is Jonathan, and he was scared to death to jump into the swimming pool. And he finally did it. And it was the best thing ever. And if I can do that with my teachers, if I can overcome their fear of technology, then that opens a door for them to be able to be those champions in the classroom. So why augmented reality? Why do I focus on augmented reality? Well, first, what is it? If you have kids or grandkids that use this a lot, they probably play Pokemon Go. It takes a simulated environment and overlays it with the real world. Google animals, I can put the tiger in my classroom, I can put it in the living room, I can do a lot of fun things with it. But there's a lot of educational aspects happening with it. A lot of museums are bringing in augmented reality. If you look at the murals that are happening in downtown St. Petersburg, we're starting to have those augmented reality components to it, because what it does is it takes these images and it allows me to convey so much more with them. So why in the classroom? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. I'm a science teacher. I get them excited. I get them doing things with their hands, but there's a disconnect with our students, believe it or not, between what I do with science in the classroom and what they experience in the real world. This right now is their world. As an educator, I need to find ways to get into their world, to work with them. And I can do things with computer simulations, but what I love about some of these aspects is it includes not only the sight, the sound of what's happening, but it also is the physical manipulation that allows me to enhance my spatial reasoning skills. And those are some of the key things that are really necessary for our students if they're going to be pursuing anything in STEM. Now, I started out working with Merge. And again, because it's about the size of a Rubik's Cube, I get to manipulate it. I can do a lot of different things with it. So I became a Merge ambassador. My previous university had a partnership with them, so I know the owners of the company. And what I loved about it is they have some great animations. There's some great curricular resources with it. But the problem is it's just that, it's just animations. And as an educator, there's so much more that I want to do to get my students excited about them. I want them to be able to vary things. And so the simulation that's at the bottom was one of the first simulations that I developed along with some partners at my previous university, Kennesaw State. And so this gets into the ability to manipulate what it is that they're doing. I wasn't necessarily a problem child in science, but I was the type of the student that liked to ask, well, why? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? If I change this, how is that going to affect it? Well, when you're in chemistry class and you're putting extra reactions together that you really shouldn't be doing, not the best thing, but in essence, that's what we're doing with science. I want to know if I do this, what is going to happen because of this? And do I start seeing patterns because of it? And how does that help me understand the world that's going on? So we developed this in mind to be able to manipulate and change a lot of these different variables, because as an educator, I want my students to develop those critical thinking skills. And then I went into gravity. We had to develop our own. And the reason why, if there's any lawyers out there, y'all ruined my research because you got involved and one lawyer started talking to another lawyer, and it just, so we had to create our own. So we're focusing now with gravity. We just got an NSF grant for about $300,000 to develop multiple simulations. And why gravity? Why do we want to do this with augmented reality? Well, for starters, if you look at the theme of dive deeper, you talk to a person and say, well, what's gravity? How does it work? And they can explain a lot of equations that go along with it. But why? Why is it that the Earth pulls on the moon? And you talk to a physicist and you start diving into those deeper questions, I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. So I had partners in Australia that we went to in November from Ozgraph, and we're looking at things like gravitational waves. Students come into physics class almost expecting something different. I know in biology, I'm gonna do dissections. I know in environmental science, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do a lot of these fun things. I know in chemistry, I'm gonna mix these chemicals together, see what happens, but in physics, there's like a little bit of a different expectation. We know it's challenging because a lot of these topics are, but a lot of these topics are the ones that can really get our students excited about learning. What's dark matter? What's quantum physics? What's time dilation? We don't talk about this stuff, but if we can start working with this augmented reality using a wow factor, to get them excited about learning and thinking about where can I go? What can I do with it? And I've seen our council members on tours getting to play with some of this stuff, and you can see the wow factor. And I have photographic proof. But it's that excitement and that enthusiasm that I can give them to help learn about what are some of these fundamental concepts, because I can rotate, I can move things, and I can actually see how the things are incorporating with it. Because in my mind, this is more realistic when we're talking about simulations than pushing a cart down a ramp and measuring its velocity and what's my acceleration because of it. Because my goal as an educator is, yes, I want you to learn some of the material, but you can look that up. But if I can get you to think critically, develop these models and look at these observations around the world around you and develop and put this all together, those are the skills that I want my students to develop. But those are the skills that I want my teachers to empower with their students in the classroom. So we can create these augmented reality tools that allow our students to be able to look at these things and develop these skills in addition to being excited about it and remembering all the fun stuff of what I get to do with this augmented reality. That's the goal of what we're doing. And that's why I love working here at the USF St. Pete. And we have our STEM lab and we're now currently also creating an emerging technology lab with augmented reality, virtual realities. And so that's going to be a big push of what we're doing moving forward. So thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to speaking with you at the reception.
So our next speaker is Natalie Saywaya. She's going to share a topic that might make you initially nervous. I'm gonna acknowledge that, especially because we live surrounded by water. But I promise you, if you dive deeper, you'll realize that we're all okay. Natalie is a PhD candidate in Maya Breitbart's Marine Genomics Lab at the College of Marine Science here at USF. Now, Natalie's research focuses on using molecular techniques to study the diversity of marine organisms. This is the first time at State of Science that we've invited a student to present. It wasn't a deliberate decision, it just happened that way. But I heard Natalie speak at the College of Marine Science Fellowship event recently. And she was awarded a fellowship that's actually fueling her PhD studies right now. And when I heard her, I said, we need to invite her because she has a great story to tell and the work that she's doing. Please invite Natalie to the stage.
Thank you, Allison. No pressure, right? Okay, good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to dive into the microscopic world of the oceans. Now, generally, when we think of microbes, we tend to think of things that make us sick, especially viruses because of the events of these past few years. But when we look at this video of the ocean, you may just see blue water, but this environment is actually dominated by the microbes within it. We don't consider that we're surrounded by microbes all the time in our everyday lives, and most of them cause us no harm. In the marine environment, they're actually crucial players. And this is because there is power in numbers, and microbes are quite numerous. If we take a drop or a milliliter of water, you would find 10 million viruses. If that alarms you, don't worry. There's also 1 million bacteria in there as well. Does that make you feel better? Remember, this was just one drop. Can you imagine how many microbes there are in the entire ocean? I like to think about it this way. So if I were to take all the marine microbes, the viruses, the bacteria, microscopic algae, and weigh them in the ocean, compare that to all other living things. So including, but not limited to, crustaceans, fish, yeah, even whales, the microbes would outweigh everything else by at least 5 times. really cementing their importance in the marine environment. Now, before you swear to never jump in the ocean again, let's reiterate, most of these microbes are causing you no harm, and in fact, are really key to an environment's health. That becomes more clear when we look at the microbial loop and the food web. Let's start with the bacteria. So you can think of them as the base of the food web. They're providing nutrients and oxygen that supports the rest of the ecosystem. That means the viruses that infect these bacteria, pictured in the center here, are also crucial players to the ecosystem's health. The viruses infecting bacteria are some of the most abundant microbes of all, and what I study in my research as a PhD candidate. Now, one thing that we're always trying to figure out though is which exactly bacteria are they infecting, right? Because there's a lot of different types of bacteria. Knowing the host of these viruses lets us know more about their role. This can be a really tricky task. In some cases, we're still struggling counting the viruses in the first place, let alone knowing who they're infecting. That's the case for the virus I study. It's found in a lot of different environments. It's called the Katusha virus. And that suggests that it plays an important role, but without being able to quantify it or know which bacteria it infects, we don't know what that role is. I am using a new technique that's allowing us to quantify these incredibly small viruses for the very first time. And they're proving to be up to 10 times more abundant than we previously thought. The way that this technique works is I take a water sample that has my viruses in it, and I put them in a gel that spreads out the viruses so I can tag their DNA with a fluorescent probe that creates these dots, and each of those dots that light up represents the Katusha virus. To give you an idea of scale here, this all happens on a microscope slide the size of my thumb. And here is a picture of what that light up DNA looks like. So again, each of those dots is the Katusha virus. I count them up, and I know how many I had in my sample. I'm using this technique now to track Katusha viruses in different seasons and at different depths. What we're really trying to do here is find hotspots where they're the most abundant, because that's most likely where we're going to find their host. And again, if we know their host, we'll better understand their role in the environment. And though I've kind of tied this up all neatly right now, I want to reassure you, this project was not straightforward. It took years of development just to get the method up and running. We were discussing with collaborators, setting up hundreds of experiments, basically constantly troubleshooting where it was one step forward and 2 steps back. I like to spend time on this because it's an important aspect of research. Science takes time. But as we persevered, we got to the point where it was all running consistently and ready to go. And then a global pandemic hit. And that kind of understandably halted everything. And while it's quite ironic that my research was halted by a virus of all things, I think it highlights that obstacles are part of science, but it's the collaboration, perseverance, and funding that push us forward. All of these were essential to allowing us to be the first to quantify the Katusha viruses, publishing our results, and equipping our lab to push this research even further. Science does not occur in a vacuum. Collaboration and communication is key. And it's something that the lab I'm a part of, the Breitbart Lab, truly believes in. As you can see from these pictures, we're a pretty fun bunch. And we love communicating about microbes to the community. In fact, if you enjoyed this and want to learn more about the small but mighty viruses around us, you can scan this QR code that links to an activity designed by our lab manager, Mackenzie Kirk. Or come visit us this year at the St. Pete Science Fest. We'd love to see you there. Thank you.
So I saw phones go up to get the QR code, and we knew that was gonna happen, it's gonna be too fast, but we printed it, and it is in the reception. So you'll be able to grab it. So it was bright thinking. Isn't that amazing? It's just amazing. So now we're gonna take a little deeper dive into our marine science. And I mentioned earlier that we're really spending a lot of time on a big grant. And One of the innovative things that's happening in our marine science community is the convergence of marine science, the traditional field that you might know, and technology. It's a field that's gaining recognition and momentum both locally and around the world, and it's commonly referred to as the new blue economy. Now, the new blue economy, setting on the right side of this visual, is a knowledge-based economy that looks to the sea not just for extraction of material goods, but for data and information to address societal challenges and to inspire solutions. The traditional blue economy, that we see on the left here, developed around tangible resources, food and fossil fuel production, critical services such as shipping and coastal tourism. But data per se was a supporting function at the best. In the future, and actually today, you will see that data and disruptive technologies are changing the way we acquire, transform, and interpret data that is becoming the predominant economic driver for the marine environment. And it's happening here in St. Pete. Takes us into our next final two presentations for the evening. Our next speaker is Ben Minicino. Say it right? Of course. You heard earlier about the hub, the Maritime and Defense Tech Hub, and its celebration of its first anniversary. It's the place, as you heard, where technology companies, researchers, government entities are sharing space. Ben actually helped make the space happen. He co-created the vision and saw what was possible along with a number of the folks here in the audience today. He and his team have been one of the strongest examples of taking advantage of the space to form new collaborations. And I think you guys are up to 3 other companies that you're partnering with in the hub right now in 1 year. So it's pretty tremendous. Ben is the president of Star Defense. He began his career in the United States Marine Corps and previously served as a county director and chief criminal investigator, leading a caseload of forced child prostitution and international human trafficking investigations in Southeast Asia. That led to over a 25-year working in the defense and maritime security spaces. So please welcome Ben.
I'm a salesman. Allison said 6 minutes. I thought it was a typo. I was expecting 6 hours. Thank you very much for this this really great opportunity to talk to you about Star Defense and what we're doing here in St. Pete. So I'll start out by saying we like to think of ourselves as a 25-year-old tech startup. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but we're a company in evolution. And the reason we're evolving is because of the stats that you see here. You know, 70% of the globe is ocean. 90% of world trade is moving by ship. And because of that, the technology that we need to be effective in our environment is necessary, and this is what Polestar really provides today. So our company came to St. Pete in 2020. We moved here just as the pandemic started. Of course, our furniture was stuck in a container somewhere in the middle of the ocean for about 6 months. That was nice. And again, what we've done here is we've built a company. This is moving really quick. Way too quickly. So sorry about that. I don't even know where we are. So 75 million ship positions a day. I'm not going to be able to back up from that, guys. This is what we're doing today. Today, Polestar, we're delivering data, and that data is national security critical. It's what differentiates us in the marketplace. So Polestar is a global company. We were first to market with international ship trafficking. We brought data to the mariner and to the governments in a big way. So today, our location in St. Pete, we started at 2 people. I think when we opened the hub, we were about 5. Today, we've grown to 50 jobs here in St. Pete, really just in that 1 year's time, and we feel that that's a really great accomplishment. We're creating, collating, managing more than 75 million position reports collected from more than 200 space apparatus every single day. And that data really amounts to about 250,000 unique vessel positions, unique ships that are navigating the oceans every single day. Now, why is that important? Again, we're moving really quickly here and I apologize, but that's important for a couple reasons. One, that data protects our customers. It protects our economy. It protects our homeland. And people see that as very, very necessary. The problem set, vessel monitoring, illicit activity, these are things that we deal with every single day, that we utilize data to educate. It's about ground truth. This is what we're providing to our customers out of St. Pete today. Risk intelligence, maritime data, vessel intelligence, again, equates to a product, a platform, and a portfolio that our technicians and our staff in St. Pete are providing to our government customers. What do we do? What's the problem set? Well, we're in the business of protection. This came about really post 9/11 when vessels were entering, for example, the US territorial waters. They would knock on our door and we didn't know they're there until they literally showed up. So this is what a vessel position report looks for a 24-hour period. This is the movement that you see around our globe. And imagine a vessel shows up on, the port of St. Pete, and we have no idea what the cargo is. We have no idea what the person's on board is. We have no idea what that threat could potentially pose to our homeland. So Polestar, working with the international community, working with the IMO, the United Nations, the Department of State, we built a system, a platform, a process that collected this data and provided this data to our customers in a way that became actionable. Again, this is all about ground truth. Some of the things that we look at that are really products that come out of this portfolio, things such as hurricane detection and alerting. This is really incredibly important. As a small company, as a small business, when you deliver a product that comes back to you and says simply, this saves lives, this has saved lives by avoiding potential threats and vessel movement within hurricane territory. Earthquake detection, this results, of course, in tsunami. Recently, we're with a customer in Colombia, with the Colombian Navy. Major concern there. How do we detect first earthquake, which then results in warnings that enable emergency activities with regard to tsunamis. This is, again, the data that's being provided. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So our solutions, they span the full breadth of maritime security, maritime technology, and maritime data. This is Polestar, and this is what we do. So thank you very much, folks.
Gotta get real in the 6 minutes, don't you?
6 minutes.
I know, it doesn't, on one hand, it feels like a long time, and then I'll be honest, sometimes it doesn't. So our next presenter is our final presenter for the evening, and it's Richard Goosen. As you saw in Ben's presentation, the ocean makes up 70% of the Earth. It's expensive to send out manned vessels to collect data in those spaces. One way to expand capabilities and to extend how far and how long data can be collected is to use unmanned equipment. But it's probably unlikely anything you've seen before, what we're about to share, unless you visited the hub. Richard is a bathymetry, did I get it right? Operations manager with Saildrone. He spent 16 years in the Royal Navy and then transitioned to the civilian world, working in the maritime tech field. Oops, we're going ahead. He opened an office in the Innovation District hub as part of the team. And I want to say something about this picture really quick. I use this picture and I asked him if it was okay because I love it. It shows the example of what we're doing with kids. And this is Richard with a group of students from the USF STEM Robotics Camp this past summer. And it's really about the members of the hub and Richard and his team, their commitment to the community to educate and enlighten for the kids what are the possibilities for careers in these amazing fields that probably they don't even know about. So please welcome to the stage, Richard Gleason.
Thanks, Alison. Okay, so this is Saildrone. I'm Bathy Operations Manager for in the St. Pete office. Basically means I do underwater mapping, which is our main function here. I'm going to go very quickly a company overview, focus on 3 missions that we've supported from this office this year, and then look at what's coming in 2023, where we actually have quite a lot happening. So we started off about 8 years ago using technology for the land sailing record attempt to power drones on the ocean. These guys are around the world, all over the place, collecting maritime data in 3 pillars, which we'll look at very, very soon. Again, way too much time on this slide on that. Yeah, so 3 pillars, maritime domain awareness, as Ben spoke about from Polestar, building marine picture, ocean mapping, my specialization, basically making sure we can figure out what's happening on the seabed and the peripheries thereof, and then our main focus, which is ocean data, getting mid-ocean data to government clients, science clients around the world, basically building our picture from these sail-powered drones. We have 4 offices at the moment, slowly growing. Started off in Alameda in California, then we opened up the office here in St. Pete. We have a government relations office in DC, and we're starting off an acoustics office in Massachusetts. All right, very quick look at some of the missions. You can see 2 drones in the middle there, co-located with some of these yellow squares. Each one of those is a NOAA weather observation station. Our drones went out there to basically replace some of these stations that were defective, providing valuable information to NOAA and to models that do weather forecasting, essentially. The drones were there to back up one, to help weather forecasting during the hurricane season. And leading on from there is our hurricane mission, where we take a modified drone. You see it's got a very stubby wing to allow it to survive in heavy wind, and we try and deliberately drive them into hurricanes. This year we intercepted 2 successfully into the eye of one. It was Cat 1 at the time, south of Puerto Rico, and then we had one that was pretty close to the eye as a Cat 4 in the sort of southern Atlantic Ocean, getting up to like 50-foot swells. This is an overview of where they were. We had 3 in the Atlantic Basin, 2 of them in the Caribbean Sea, another 2 in the Gulf of Mexico. One of those highlighted up there, 1032, was launched out of St. Pete. This year we intend to launch quite a few more of them, hopefully. Next up is our main Bathy mission, underwater mapping mission that we did this year, which was a multi-partner mission in the Aleutian Islands, getting basic seabed imagery from a large variety of islands around there. I'm going to focus on some data examples after this, but we sent our flagship out there, the Surveyor, which is a 72-foot drone, to make pretty pictures of the seabed. These are very useful for the right clients, both for mapping, for interpreting what the seabed is all about. This is just an indication of what we were capable of with our sort of shallow water multi-beam system called 2040, and a deeper water system 304, which can go down to about 20,000 feet. Some more examples of the Amutka Pass area, which is a very dynamic seabed, which is right off the island, about 2 miles off. You're at 300 feet, and we dropped down to about 3,000 in no time at all in the Amutka Pass Canyon. This was sort of a challenging environment with about 3 knots of current, which we weren't expecting because it's a very data sparse area. But that's why we do this. We go out there to collect the data so we can inform sort of future jobs. So that leads us to what's happening here next. We're currently building 5 more of those big ones. It's not quite as large as the first one, but they're still 65 feet long. We're expecting 5 this year, 2 of which at least will be coming to St. Pete's. They will hopefully be running out of the port here doing mapping jobs in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic, with a pretty significant census suite. The next slide will give us some sort of idea of what they have, but it's mostly sort of bathy mapping equipment, high resolution multi-beam systems for shallow and deeper water, high fidelity navigation and orientation systems, plus oceanographic sensors, a full suite of meteorological sensors, which we need to sail these boats, and so on and so forth. The next one, this is becoming our main workhorse. We started the Explorers, which are the small ones, which some of you may have seen being launched from here. They're being replaced by a slightly larger vessel, the 33-foot Voyager. We're expecting to have quite a few of these joining us here in the not too distant future, working on projects such as the Florida State Mapping Initiative in shallower waters up to about 900 feet or so. Again, 3D mapping being the primary sort of aim of these, but they are also used for maritime domain awareness and a whole host of other jobs. They're a bit more power generation facility, they're a bit more useful. Anyway, I think that's just about the time I've got. There you go. Looking forward to seeing you all.
Richard mentioned the Florida Coastal Mapping Project. I just want to bring up a point about that in case you aren't familiar. It's $100 million that has been allocated by the state of Florida to map our coastline. Why should you care? Because if you understand what happens off the coastline, it has implications for flood risk. So think about your flood insurance and how they do the algorithms, habitat management, transportation, all kinds of ripple effects. And so it's an impressive array of things that you can gain, almost the concept of map once used multiple times. And this is one of the biggest endeavors the state of Florida has taken on. And we have multiple companies here in our community, particularly in the Innovation District, who are taking a lead in that role. So I'm really excited. So that's the state of science and innovation in St. Pete. It gives you a taste of some of the speakers. They are doing world-changing innovation and scientific research, technology. They are among many innovators. These are pictures of all of our past presenters. People who, as a result of their speech, have had opportunities in new collaborations, new grant funding, partnerships that have been formed, and even some friendships. So this is why something like this is so important. I have cool aspirations for all of our presenters. In a moment, those of you here with us are going to be invited to go next door. So you just go out this door, make a right, and on your right, join us for a beverage, join a chance to talk with these presenters, learn a little bit more about what they're doing. And it'll just be a brief time to get to know each other and spend some time. I do want to say again, thank you so much to everybody who made this possible. USF St. Petersburg campus, thank you for the use of this space. To the Innovation District board member, to my partner in crime, Lauren Bell, and also Karen Neesmith is here. She rocked and helped out at the last minute, filling in on the front desk. So if you came in, you probably saw Karen. I want to give her a huge kudos for that because I appreciate her jumping in. Somebody has to tell her because she might be out there still. Thank you all, and this concludes the State of Science and Innovation. Join us next door. Have a great night.
Okay.